The first thing you notice is the silence. Not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that feels heavy, as if the ground itself is holding its breath. And as the camera rises above the limestone hills of the Holy Land, the landscape unfolds like a memory older than any nation that claims it today. A place where ancient roads twist between olive trees, where deserts meet fertile valleys, and where every stone seems to whisper a different version of the past. Travelers arrive expecting answers, but the deeper they walk into Jerusalem's narrow alleys, the more they realize this land does not offer certainty, only layers. Because Israel and Palestine are not simply lines on a map, but a living archive of faith, empire, migration, hope, and heartbreak, stretching back thousands of years to a time when the earliest cities emerged from dust and myth, when Canaanite traders built fortified towns and early tribes carved identities from the same hills now watched by modern checkpoints, and the camera drifts across ancient ruins where archaeologists brush away centuries to uncover fragments that refuse to agree with each other, reminding us that history here is never singular, but always contested. Long before the world called it sacred, this land was a crossroads of empires, ruled by Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans, each leaving temples, roads, and stories behind. And as we stand near the remains of the Second Temple's outer walls, pilgrims press their hands against ancient stone, while only steps away, the golden dome of a mosque reflects the sun, a visual reminder that three major religions converge in a space smaller than many modern cities, creating a tension between devotion and geography that has shaped centuries of conflict and coexistence. And when Roman legions marched through Jerusalem in the 1st century, crushing revolts and scattering populations across continents, they could not have known they were setting into motion a diaspora that would echo across millennia. Nor could they have imagined that centuries later, Muslim caliphates would transform the city into a thriving center of learning, trade, and spiritual pilgrimage, where Arabic poetry and architecture flourished beneath arches still standing today. The journey moves north toward Galilee, where villages rest quietly beside water that has witnessed fishermen, prophets, and conquerors alike. And here the camera lingers on the landscape itself, showing how geography shapes destiny. Fertile plains inviting settlers, while mountain passes attract armies, and the wind carries echoes of crusaders who arrived from Europe convinced they were reclaiming a holy inheritance, leaving behind castles that now crumble under the same sun that once lit medieval banners. And the story becomes less about winners and losers and more about the endless cycle of arrival and departure, because every era seems convinced it is permanent until another wave reshapes the narrative. As Ottoman rule stretches across centuries, markets expand, caravans cross deserts, and diverse communities, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, live within a complex social fabric that shifts slowly, almost quietly, until the modern age arrives with railways, photography, and foreign interest that transforms the Holy Land from a distant pilgrimage into a global symbol. And the camera moves through black and white archival footage, where early travelers record streets filled with vendors and prayer, capturing a fragile coexistence that would soon be tested by the collapse of empires after the First World War, when new borders, drawn by distant powers, introduced a different kind of tension, turning ancient cities into political questions debated in foreign capitals. As British administration begins, promises made during wartime collide with rising nationalist movements, and the land becomes a focal point for people seeking refuge, identity, or sovereignty. And the narrative tightens around individuals, families arriving with suitcases filled with memories, villagers watching landscapes change, leaders arguing over maps that rarely reflect the complexity on the ground. And as the 20th century accelerates toward its most turbulent decades, the camera shifts between crowded ports, desert settlements, and urban streets where fear and hope coexist, reminding us that history is not abstract but deeply human, shaped by decisions made in moments of uncertainty. The creation of a new state in the mid-20th century transforms the region's trajectory overnight, bringing celebration for some and displacement for others. And as the documentary walks through abandoned villages and modern skylines, it invites viewers to see how memory lingers in architecture, how names of streets carry echoes of past generations, and how narratives diverge depending on who tells them, because one person's independence is another person's loss. And the land itself becomes a canvas where competing histories overlap without fully erasing one another. The camera moves to the West Bank's terraced hills and the bustling streets of Tel Aviv, contrasting ancient stone with modern glass towers, showing how innovation and tradition exist side by side. And interviews with historians reveal that the region's story cannot be reduced to a single timeline, as archaeological discoveries challenge assumptions, while oral histories preserve experiences not found in textbooks. And as travelers walk through Bethlehem's old markets or stand on the Mediterranean shore watching waves crash against ancient ports, they sense that the Holy Land is defined not only by conflict, but also by resilience, art, cuisine, music, and daily life continuing despite uncertainty. Night falls over Jerusalem, and the soundscape shifts from distant calls to prayer to church bells and murmured conversations, illustrating how the rhythm of the city changes hour by hour, and the documentary lingers on moments that rarely appear in headlines. Children playing soccer in narrow streets, elders sharing stories over coffee, artisans carving wood in workshops that have survived generations, suggesting that beneath political narratives exists a quieter continuity of culture that refuses to disappear. Yet the tension remains visible. Checkpoints, dividing landscapes, murals reflecting resistance and identity, soldiers and civilians sharing the same roads while experiencing entirely different realities. And the camera avoids easy conclusions, instead inviting viewers to witness the complexity through travel itself, because walking through the Holy Land reveals that history is not locked in museums, but unfolding in real time, shaped by choices, fears, and hopes that stretch far beyond any single documentary. As dawn breaks over the desert near the Dead Sea, the narrator reflects on how this land has inspired prophets, poets, and politicians alike, each convinced they understood its destiny. Yet the horizon remains open, a reminder that the Holy Land still hides stories waiting to be discovered, not only in ruins beneath the sand, but in conversations between strangers, in shared meals, in the quiet resilience of communities that continue to live here despite uncertainty. And the journey ends not with an answer, but with an invitation to look closer, to listen longer, and to recognize that history here is less about final truths and more about understanding the many voices that have shaped a place where past and present walk side by side, where every sunrise illuminates both ancient memory and modern reality, and where the search for meaning continues, carried by travelers who arrive seeking clarity, yet leave with a deeper awareness that the Holy Land is not a single story, but a mosaic of human experience stretching across thousands of years, still unfolding, still contested, and still profoundly alive.